I would be reading 1 John. Okay. Come on. Perfect. Okay, let's get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, it's 10:01. Okay, so I'm going to just get started. Hopefully people will just jump on. So good morning and thank you for joining me for Dissecting Daily Devotional. Today I'm going to be reading 1 John chapter 5 verse 14 and 15. So it says, "And we are confident that he hears us whenever we ask for anything that pleases him. And since we know he hears us when we make our requests, we also know that he will give us what we ask for." So this verse, I want to go ahead and reference John chapter 15, verse 7. It says, "But if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, you may also ask for anything you want, and it will be granted." So I just wrote down a few things. So first off, you have to be steadfast in what you want. You have to be steadfast in Christ. So you can't you can't go back and forth with your relationship with God. You can't be like in one day and out the other. You can't have one foot out the door. You have to be solid in God. Now, we all struggle and we all have different paths and we all have different struggling blocks, if you will. But at the same time, you have to 100% be in it. And whatever that looks like for you, you can't love God today and then, oh, well, I don't believe him. I don't trust him. I don't know if this whole God thing is for me. You can't do that. And then the next day, okay, well, just kidding. You have to be steadfast. So that's what it means when it says, if you remain in me. That's what that verse, that particular part is talking about. Next, I wrote the part that stood out to me in this verse in chapter 1 John 5:14. It says, "And we are confident that he hears us." So confidence means bluntness. It means boldness. And it means outspoken. And confidence also means something outwardly. So this is why God asks us to, this is why he asks us to say whatever we have to say out loud, just because he knows what we want. Remember, he created the world, he created the earth. Remember, this is a book and God created, our lives is like this book and God created it. He created chapter 1 and chapter whatever, 200 and whatever. So we have to understand that when God asks us to say stuff out loud, it's not for him because he already knows what we want. He knows our beginning and our end. He wants us to say it out loud so we understand what we want. He wants us to say it out loud so we know that that's what we really want. He wants to make sure. He wants our own assurance. Have you guys ever, like, sometimes you'll say something and then you'll think like, I didn't realize that until I said it out loud. We can have thoughts in our heads, but sometimes they don't come to pass until we say them literally out loud, out of our mouth. And that made me think of when I watch certain shows, like I watch Criminal Minds, and on they always do like handwriting analysis. Well, I shouldn't say always, but they've done handwriting analysis. And with handwriting analysis, they can tell if the person is they can tell what mood the person was by how shaky the pen was when they're writing it, and they can tell how bold a person was feeling when they wrote a certain thing. So I guess what I'm getting at is saying this. I don't know about you, but I've noticed in my own handwriting, if I write something that I'm not 100% confident in, I look at the rest of like the paragraph that I'm writing, and it's not as bold as the rest of it. Like my hand almost got lighter as I wrote it, because I'm putting it out there. It's not just like stuck in my head anymore. So that's a thought. Just remember, we have to speak things out because God is making sure we are making sure. God's making sure we are understanding that this is what these things are. What else did I write? So, I wrote, do not waver. So like in James, when he's saying, God's not going to rebuke you for asking for wisdom, but when you do ask, make sure you're not wavering. Make sure that when you ask, it says, don't waver like the winds in the sea. You don't want to be tossed back and forth. So when you ask for something, keep just 100% your confidence in God that he will bring it. Don't ask and then like doubt, because you're almost like throwing salt at it. Like it's not going to it's not going to align, basically, if that makes sense. And then I lastly wrote, so when we are asking for something, about being confident, we have to be bold. So in Hebrews, it says, Hebrews 4:16, it says, we have to come to the throne room of grace boldly. We have to come boldly, and we have to come courageously. Hi, Fred. And we have to come courageously. So we can't just ask and then not really want it. We have to be bold when we ask. We can't just kind of sort of ask and hope and pray it happens. We have to 100% understand that he's going to bring it and understand that he's going to give it to us. And then the next part that's very important about this, it says, and we're confident that he hears us whenever we ask for anything that pleases him. So the thing is, a lot of the times we're asking for stuff that does not please him, and that's why we don't get it, or we're asking for stuff that we're not ready for. So I'll go over the first one first. Psalms 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So if you're delighting yourself in God, you are going to receive what he has for you that you guys are both wanting. So if you delight yourself in God, you're not going to ask for something that's not godly. Like if you're, for example, if you're saying like, oh God, I want to be able to, what am I trying to think of? I want to go to this club and I want to be a stripper or something. Like obviously that's not going to happen, because God, that's not a desire that God's going to give to you. That's a worldly desire. That's not a godly desire. You're not desiring something like, I want to pray in tongues because I want to bless the people around me. Or I want to be a healer because I want to lay hands on people and help people. Those are things that God knows that you would use to glorify him. You can't ask for things that will not glorify him. And Matthew 6:33 says, seek him first in his righteousness. So when you're seeking God and you're putting God first, your brain then aligns with what he has for you. And that goes back to Psalms 37:4. When you have the delight yourself in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart. So you have to seek him first, because he will then change your mind and how you think. And then that's when you're basically on the same field as him. You start to understand what he's saying. Yeah, exactly. If it's not from God's will, exactly. So then the next thing is, sometimes we don't get things because the things that we ask for, we're not ready for it. So for example, I want, let's just say a Maserati, dream car. I want a Maserati. Yeah, but you don't even clean the car you have. So why would I give you a better car? Why would I give you something new? And you don't even take care of what I already blessed you with. God says, be faithful with the little and he'll give you the much. So if you're not taking care of the little, which would be my car that I have now, he's not going to give you a new one. Or if it's like, oh, I want a new job. And it's like, you show up late to this job. You're never on time. You complain when the boss tells you to do more than what your job title describes. Why would I give you the CEO position if you don't even want to do this job that you have now? So sometimes the things we ask for, those are the reasons why we don't have them. And then it says, So then the last part, it says, oh, so we just need to basically believe, make sure that we are aligned in Him. It says how you should pray to receive, why we pray for. Reword that for me. I don't know what you're asking, Fred. If you can write it in a different way. I don't know what that means. So I'm just going to read it one more time. It says, 1 John chapter 5 verse 14 says, and we are confident that he hears us whenever we ask for anything that pleases him. And since we know that he hears us when we make our requests, we also know that he will give us what we ask for. I rewrite your full question. I don't know what your full question was, because it says how you should pray to receive, why pray for. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Are you saying how should you pray so you can receive what you want? Is that what you're asking? Let me see. Are these all my notes? Okay, cool. Yes, exactly. Okay, so for example, let's just say you want a new job. Like, let's just say that's something. Obviously, you getting a new job will please, because and you're thinking, you know what, I want a new job so I can. Well, you have to make sure the things that you are aligning with what he has. So let's just say a new job for you, and you're thinking, I want this because I want to be able to be with my family more, and this job is taking too much out of me. God is like our friend. So talk to God how you would talk to your friend, like literally how we're conversing. Like, okay, God, I don't like this job because I'm working, see my family. Pray that to God. He knows what's in your heart. So pray it like, you know what, Lord, if it's in your will, if this is what you have for me, allow me to get a position so more time with my family, I can do more things that I have to do regarding you, and so forth. You don't have to make it like some long drawn out prayer like, oh my gosh, and gee, you don't have to do all of it if that's not prayer language. Talk to God how you talk to anyone else, because your relationship with God is different than my relationship with God. So don't use big fancy words if that's not what you're used to, just because God's not going to be like, oh, I hear you now, because it's not how God works. He understands your heart. He hears your heart, not your words. So you want to make sure, you're praying for it the way you would talk to anyone else, basically, if that makes sense. Any more questions before I log off? Okay, I am going to log off. You're welcome. Thanks for joining me, Fred. I will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Have a good day. God bless you. See you soon. Bye.